Tonight episode of Bedtime Comics with a Redneck, we will be going over 3 issues of Godzilla Rivals. Uh, I read it in digital format, so I don't really have anything to really show you. The tablet's about too small to mess with a lot of it. But uh, the first issue was Rodan versus Ebra, or however you say his name, the giant lobster or shrimp or whatever he is. Ebra, I think is how you say it. Well, the story on that one is pretty simple. They have a new person coming up. They've got some kind of station or something. I'm assuming way up in Earth orbit almost, where they're keeping some of the kaiju. They're keeping Rodan, uh, Ebra, and you have some of Biollante up there, like a vine they saved from Biollante. And they're basically trying to find ways to kind of weaponize the kaiju. Uh, like they said, for example, with Ebra, they were wanting to use like his, I guess, watching his scales and stuff so they could make better armor and stuff. And with Rodan, they were wanting to figure out how to make more efficient fighter jets, without having to use fossil fuel. Uh, so it's like a little research place. Well, of course, Rodan and Ebra get loose and they start fighting with each other. And with this being like a almost like a space station, they have what they call a elevator of some kind that takes them back down to Earth or whatever. Well, Ebra and Rodan are in this elevator and they're just falling from orbit in this elevator down to Earth. And, everybody's main concern is if they hit Earth traveling at that speed, then it would be like a nuclear bomb going off and will take out cities when they hit. So they're trying to find ways to slow it down. Uh, they end up, long story short, they end up using Biollante and Mothra's webs to capture them. Uh, there is a winner in there, surprisingly, and it did surprise me. Uh, I won't spoil who won it, but it it wasn't who I thought it was going to be. But it is a decently long battle. There is a lot of fighting to it. Uh, it was a good issue. There's not really much else I can say about it without dragging it out, but it was a good issue. It's if you can find it somewhere for a couple bucks, or if you can find a trade paperback, pick it up. It's good. So the next issue in the trade paperback was Mothra versus Titanosaurus, and I have always been a super big fan of Titanosaurus. Uh, Mothra's okay, but I've always liked the Titanosaurus design. But anyway, getting into it, the story is pretty bare simple. One of Mothra's eggs ends up washing up on the shore. They've got these scientist guys who are claiming that the kaiju were giving off like some kind of magnetic waves or something that the other kaiju can pick up on when somebody's in their territory, and that's what's making them clash. So when Mothra's egg flowed in, it got thrown off track by, I guess, a sea storm somewhere, blew it off track, and it ended up going into Titanosaurus's territory. So Titanosaurus is coming to destroy the egg, and you have this whole thing of they got to get the egg out. They got to get, they got to try to get the egg out of Titanosaurus's territory. Uh, you got Titanosaurus chasing the boat. Mothra, the adult Mothra, ends up showing up, and I mean, now that it was a good issue, but that's what disappointed me was the fight between Mothra and Titanosaurus is one page, and like that one page, it's like a 4-panel fight. I'm not gonna say who wins. I'm gonna save that for you to find out. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a fight. I mean, I feel like the story was good for what it was, but you're advertising this as your fight titles with Godzilla Rivals on the cover, with Godzilla Versus, and you that issue, you don't have hardly any fighting at all in it. It's like a page. But the story was good. So I'll let it go for that. Uh, it had a decent little ending to it. So I mean, if I had to rate it 1 to 10, I would probably give that one a 6, maybe. The Rodan and the Bria, whatever his name is, I would probably give it more like maybe a 7.5, an 8, just because I'm not especially crazy about Ebra. But it was a good fight. So the last issue in the book that I read, how did it finished with a Destroyer versus Biollante. And that was an interesting story. It was yet another one that had a little bit of fighting, but it didn't have what it should have had. But I mean, it was still okay. It still had decent fighting in it. But you had this company come in and make this. I guess it's some kind of energy drink or something, and they were using Biollante, some kind of Biollante juice or something. And after 300 days or whatever, everybody would start growing into Biolantes. So you've got this scientist that figures it out, but they figure it out too late as it's happening. And all these people come together and create Biolante. This scientist has been studying these kaiju that start in lower forms and can combine themselves into a master form. So she goes and collects all the stuff she needs to create the destroyer to fight Biolante, and she creates the destroyer, and you get to see all three of destroyer's forms. Well, actually, there's one, two, three. There's 4 forms to destroyer. Uh, the final form is literally in there for like a page, and but all his other forms are in there decent enough for they fight for a couple pages in the other forms, but I'm not going to reveal who wins that. It's another one where there is a winner. Uh, it may not be who you think it is, but that was a decent story. If I had to rate it 1 to 10, I would probably rate it, I don't know, 6.5. So just because I didn't care for the art wasn't terrible, but it was like almost like manga style art. The art in Rodan and Ebra was decent enough, and the artwork in Titanosaurus and Mothra, it was okay. I feel like it could have been better, but it was okay. So that is basically, if you've seen my other video or two before, then this concludes the Godzilla Rivals Volume 2 book. I will be starting Volume 3, and its opening book is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. So we'll make a new video about that. But as a whole for this book, I read it for free on Amazon Kindle, their little Kindle Unlimited thing. I read it for free. It's If you're interested, it's an easy way to you get a little free trial. Go ahead and try it out. Uh, but yeah, if I can find it for a decent price, it'd be worth picking up. If you're a Godzilla fan, you're not gonna regret any of these stories.